Hi, and welcome to another edition of Bauer Business Bites. My name is David Tighe. I'm the Managing Director of Bauer Media here in Northern Ireland. And each week we're helping to reboot Northern Ireland business, and we're hoping to bring you some great insight and opinion. This week's guest, it's an absolute pleasure to welcome Graham Keddie, who's the Managing Director of Belfast International Airport. Graham, welcome to Business Bites.
Thank you, David. It's nice to be on.
And it's nice to see you. Let's get straight into it. Travel, tourism, it's a massive talking point right now. You're running Belfast International Airport. Great facilities. I've been there myself. What is the current situation with regarding air travel at your airport?
Well, we're slowly and very slowly getting back to normal. We restarted passenger operations 2 weeks ago, very mostly with domestic flights and one flight to Faro. Today, more flights started, and both with EasyJet and with Ryanair. So we're getting there, but how can I put it this way? Put it into context. This week should be one of the busiest weeks of the year for us. We should have 160, 170,000 passengers through the terminal. We'll be lucky if we have 7,000 this week.
That's pretty dire numbers, and obviously we're all hoping that over the next couple of weeks and couple of months that air travel returns to some level of normality. But things like quarantines, and I'm hearing about what? Correct me on the terminology. Not air bubbles. What am I talking about?
They originally started off as air
Air
bridges,
bridges.
and now it's become international transport corridors. The joys of government, I think the quarantine by the British government was talk about shooting yourself in the foot, just as the rest of Europe is opening up. I think none of us would have complained 3 months ago. But these, how could I put it, international transport corridors hopefully should be announced to a number of countries tomorrow. And we're obviously praying that Spain, Portugal, Italy, France are all on that list, so at least we can have some bit of a summer. But we need those corridors back so that we can actually kickstart our international services.
And what is so we'll obviously we will watch that news with great interest, as I'm sure you will. But if we're to present ourselves at the airports right now, what's the customer experience? People obviously are a lot of people are worried about confidence levels in different environments. So what's the kind of air travel levels like at the minute? How is it going to work for me as a consumer turning up at Belfast International Airport?
It's Well, I can only speak for us because I've only been in one airport terminal in the last few weeks. But we run a one-way system now. We insist on masks prior to entry. You'll have to wear a mask on your flight. Hand sanitizing stations all over the place, screens in front of any contact points. All our security staff wearing both masks and face helmets to further protect their faces. Those are the sort of things that we're having to do. The aircraft themselves, they've actually increased the recycling rate of their filtration system on board, on the air filtration system. So, the experience is not what we'd want it to be. Currently all we have available are water fountains and vending machines. We get our first restaurant outlet open next week, and this weekend our chocolate and alcohol shop will open. So we'll gradually get things back to normal so that people can have at least some level of experience. But it is very strange going through a one-way system and going through with everyone wearing masks and nothing open. So once that sort of atmosphere and vibe returns, it will be great. We're hoping to get the Lagan Bar open later this month, the most checked-in bar in Northern Ireland. So as things change and experiences change, if there's change in the regulations or guidelines, that we can react to them.
And I suppose looking to the future, When do you see? We've had people predicting 2 years, 3 years before air travel gets back to the same levels that it was pre this crisis. What's your view on the sort of longer term outlook?
First of all, my crystal ball is very cloudy, and I think everybody's crystal ball is very cloudy. I think there's a very pessimistic view within the industry that it will take time both for confidence um, and business travel to come back. If you think about it, prior to this, we were almost at the peaks of the peak in terms of air travel worldwide. There is no doubt that it will take time for it to come back. We are estimating 2022, 2023 before we return to 2019 levels. And that's going to be the struggle. We're going to have less airlines. Which airlines are going to survive is the big question mark throughout Europe and the rest of the world. So there's going to be some tough periods until things get back to some level of normality. And for example, in business travel, all of us have got used to video conferencing and much more effective things like Microsoft Teams, Zoom, etc. So those sort of things may have an impact, particularly on business travel going forward.
And finally, obviously, airports have a lot of associated businesses that work in and
Mm.
around them and that depend on an airport for their own survival. A lot of people will be watching this today thinking their long term future is dependent on the survival and the effectiveness of Belfast International Airport. What message have you got for those people who depend on the airport?
To put again the airport into context, we're the second largest site employer in Northern Ireland. There's over 5,000 people work on the site, 250 companies. We have to make sure that many of them survive as possible. One, we have to survive and prosper. I think the thing is, aviation will come back. It's come back from every crisis there's been in my 30 odd years, better and stronger and fitter. It's going to be a struggle, but to everybody out there, I'd say manage your cash as we've been managing our cash as much as possible because cash is what's going to get us through this. Um, and make hard decisions when you have to because there's those tough decisions can be delayed, and this is something where you push those decisions back, and the problems then start getting worse and worse.
Well, Graham, you have got a very big job and even a bigger job ahead of you. And as someone who's sitting in the MD's chair, I wish you nothing but good luck and good fortune to the airport and all of its employees and people who depend on it. And we're very happy here at Bauer Media Northern Ireland to support you and the airport in any which way we can. So thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you very much for your time, David, and thanks very much for all your support.